This is Pro Tour. We continue our coverage from round number 2 of the Pro Tour down in a very wet and windy East London. We expect nothing less. Picking up on action now from the Goldwagen Challenge. This Goldwagen Challenge race action brought to you by Goldwagen. Before racing started on the weekend, we caught up with one of the front runners in the Class A's, VWChallengeSA, to tell us where it all began.
Raced go-karts for about 11 years. It started getting a little bit tough on the body, and then I decided to come race big track. Always wanted to race big track. And Derek and a couple of my other mates, Barry, Andre and Apple, we started racing in the VWChallengeSA. The camaraderie keeps the guys together. We've got good friendships around. You know, when stuff happens and stuff breaks, people help each other. You know, they lend each other gearboxes and stuff like that. So that's what's good in the challenge. You know, it's competitive on the track, but off the track, the guys are big buddies and things like that, and they help each other. We're not out to go and race Formula 1 at the end of the day, but it's fun and it is competitive.
In Goldwagen Challenge, that's where everybody wants to end up, Voldy, in Formula 1, especially the guys who run at the front of classes A and B. VWChallengeSA was the rainmaster, and in tricky conditions put it ahead of Derek Smallberger. Nathan, top of B, ahead of Atkinson.
Your times yesterday in the dry looked pretty tasty as well, but you had a little problem this morning. Tell me what happened.
Well, I went out the pit lane and the bonnets flipped up and had to drive a whole lap with the rain, missed it up, windscreen, bonnets in the way. So just got it back to the pits and did a one lap qualify. So.
Classes C and D, very interesting results at the top end of that, as Philip Cruiser looked like he was going to be good, but unfortunately got outgunned by Van Rooyen, Cup and Nobre. In Class D, Piazza Musso, Hurley and Hall, your top 3.
Dev, we're probably experiencing some of the worst conditions we've had in the Goldwagen Challenge so far this year, but the best position you've had in qualifying.
Yeah, we pushed really hard. Karting experience helps a lot in these weather conditions, and driving smooth seems to pay off.
VWChallengeSA and Smallberger on the front row as they get away for race 1, all classes. Calling all cars and everybody's there.
Yeah, 27 cars making it down to the coastal track. Still going to be scoring separately in their own categories, but unfortunately small numbers. It should create tight racing though.
Check that out. Rory Atkinson's flight hand cleaner Polo on the side of the track due to the fact that he dumped his entire engine's content all over the track. And in fact, we were out there for so long at the beginning of the race, it went from a wet race to dry race.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rory. Appreciate it. Good drop of the line here for Van Rooyen and all the Golfs. These guys really need to work together on a slipstream city track like this.
Philip Cruiser going alongside here and trying to get through early on. It's not going to be an easy day in the saddle here. We saw tricky conditions in qualifying. The rain is gone. That's the best part about it. And as I've just said, the track is now dry. But these guys might not have had enough time to get their wet setups not 100% right.
Watch out for that yellow car. Carlos Nobre, he was lightning at round number 1, but he had some problems on his car. Says it's all sorted out now, and for my money, he's going to be the only guy in this category so far in this year to actually run the pace of Van Rooyen.
Coming down towards Cochabana for the first time. Braking very hard and very late, well, as late as you can. Gina Monroe on the outside here, being hassled very early on by the other side, Gavin Monroe, and alongside her, of course, is Vota Rus.
What you need to watch out for as well as we go back to the guys at the front now. When's the last time you saw this? Darren Nathan all over the back end of a Class A car of Blackensea. But if he actually does his homework right here, that car makes a massive hole in the air, and he should be able to get tagged to the front.
Let's see if he's able to do that. Now they come onto the braking markers, and Ross under pressure. There's Blackensea sneaking through. Oh, it's a good move there from Keegan. The Vendetta car sneaking through the 188 has now got to 3rd place. Nathan has seen that, said, okay, maybe I can make this work for me. The Sex Trader car right behind these guys, and we're on board now with Blackensea, looking for a way past on Derek Smallberger.
Running in the 3 spot as well, but remember that VWChallengeSA's had a lot of work on his engine to do, so he doesn't know if it's going to last the day. He's literally holding his breath every time that thing revs out, so he doesn't want to be revving it out to the max. He would like a little bit of help out front.
You can see the battles royal right the way through, as always, in Goldwagen. Yanni van Rooyen, though, getting away from the rest of the field. Trying to tag onto the back of Van Rooyen is Nobre, and then there's a three-way battle here. Gina Monroe is just behind. There's a move on the inside. Vota looking good, and on his outside, well, it's a fantastic start there for the 53 car of Michael Cap.
Vota Roos's car should run well at this track. Slightly longer, you know, it will be much more stable through the big sweeping turns, and certainly a slipperier car when it comes to the drag effect.
Now they head down towards that drag effect. This is where it comes into play. Look at how the Golfs just tuck in behind each other, trying to get that slipstream. In the background, Keegan Blackensea's on Ross. Ross has to go very, very defensive on the brakes and goes very late into Kokobana. Keegan probably having a great drive here, I've got to say. He's just hanging back enough and not going to show his cards too early on the Vendetta Konica Minolta Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah, if he just looks up the road and can still see the guys not getting away, he should be able to just hang tough there. But two cars, he needs to start making some passes pretty soon. Otherwise, Valdi is going to start checking out. But you can see Valdi is getting reeled in very quickly on the brakes.
Into gate corner, and that's the move. Perfectly done. That's what we kind of saw and we wanted to see from the Formula V's, but they were all going around the outside of gate. In a normal saloon car, that's probably the only overtaking maneuver you can pull. Otherwise, you will end up on the kart circuit.
In the B's, Nathan just behind here. He comes in a shot there. Tholay just behind him, and then Quinton Thompson finding some good pace down on the coastal track.
Quinton Thompson, remember, is a Class A car, so he doesn't have to really worry about the two cars in front of him, although he has to get past them to get to this battle. And here's another move. 2 corners later, and we've got a man up in a second place. Man, Keegan Blackensea's on fire down here.
Yeah, you know, he was wound up, he was revved up and ready to go. Wasn't too happy with the wet weather conditions. One of those drivers that says he doesn't mind driving in the wet because of his karting experience. I don't know how the two correlate, but in the dry, he's definitely charging his way through.
He's looking good. He's in the Golf 4, remember. It's a slightly heavier car than the other cars out front there, but power to weight ratio and, of course, the power of these Class A cars, all very even. It's a matter of driving skill now. Smallberger, he's got a lot of driving skill, but when you've got a youngster like Keegan Blackensee giving you hassles, it's because he has absolutely no fear and he's not worried about what happens on Monday.
A track for the fearless, no doubt, and this is the man we're watching and talking about. Ross is getting blown out the back door completely, lost the toe, and cannot hang tough.
Oh, Valdi's run wide.
Yeah, Valdi's gone, and oh man, almost flipped himself over there. You saw the back end kick up a little bit. He has been battling with problems during braking, and he really got caught up badly there as we see Thompson slide through in the background.
Thompson's got ahead of Nathan now, so that extra bit of power has allowed him to get ahead of the Pren Properties Polo, and Tholay, well, he's going to try and stay with this X-Trader car as these guys come down into gate corner once again. We've got a new leader, the first time into the complex for Keegan Blackensee at the front end of this field, and Nathan, he's hanging on to the back end of Thompson and actually getting away from the second of those Polo Vivos.
You know what, if we're wondering where a couple of guys that normally are racing have gone missing, Henry Van...
Problem, Tholay, sorry to jump in. Tholay pulling to the side of the track there, and he is out. So Ryan Tholay, second place in Class B's, is out of this one.
That's a heartbreak. I was talking about Henry Van Vletter not going out in qualifying, so he had to start right at the back. So he's one of those drivers that'll start charging his way through.
E-Coat going at it, and he's basically just ahead of Henry Van Vletter's little battle. Monroe, Gina, that is closing onto the back end of Vota Roos. Vota Roos doing the same thing to Nobre, and Nobre still hasn't found an answer to the pace of Yannick Van Rooyen's Goldwagen Golf.
Steve Hurley missing in action from this round, deciding rather to focus on young James Hurley, and that's the third car in shot going through there, and James is rocking and rolling in the Class Ds.
And the Batman went through, and we're seeing the 53 car there of Cap under pressure from the Bat Lady, so it looks like the Van Vletters, the two...
Look at James slide through there.
Amazing.
Great. Holds a sweet, tight line through the complex, and he is leading out a couple of cars in a category bigger than his.
Gatsamusa just behind him. This is the front end of Class C, and we had 6 laps of 10, and that's Yannick Van Rooyen looking good. Comes Peter Thompson on his tail is Vota Roos, and still going at it. Oh, and actually tagging. Oh, that's not the way to do things. The 93 car there of Fred Morowitz and Vota coming together. It looks like Vota might have done some damage, and he's out.
Morowitz looks like he just turned in, wasn't looking in his rearview mirror, and just left Vota Roos, who was on the racing line on the inside, nowhere to go.
So down that back straightaway, Gina Monroe now has stepped up a position, so she's probably into about 3rd place in Class C. Then you go a bit further back, and Van Vletter continues ahead of Hurley, and Hurley actually chopping and changing the whole time there. It's a nice little two-way battle there between Hurley, Morowitz, and Michael Cap, and of course you've got Gat Rousseau just behind.
I caught Hurley in the pits, and he was saying his car loves this track. He can just pitch it in flat out. He's not worried about setting up for the corners, just keeps it buried the whole way through, and we saw that with the tight line that he's able to hold through the complex just like that.
Brilliant bit of driving there, I've got to say. James Hurley's really coming to grips with Goldwagen Challenge, but he's still got 2 cars to get through, and hopefully he'll be able to do that. Henry van Vleuten just keeping it all together right now as they come up to the braking markers for Beacon. The Batman and the Bat Lady, as I said, they are basically the bread in this little Golf 1 battle.
Kind of weird to see these guys all bunched together. We've seen it a lot in the second heats, but to have the first heat all thrown together in the mix, I can't even keep up where we are.
So, going to the front end once again, looks like Nathan has made a move. Yes, indeed he has. A big move, in fact, and has it returned on him. Nathan actually getting past Thompson. This is the battle for Class B honours, but Smallberger's in the mix too. He's going for second place in Class A. So it's something that we don't normally have happening here. Class B guys going at it with a Class A car, and Smallberger just doesn't seem to have the match of these two, as Thompson and Nathan around the outside of gate. Can he hang on to it? Sex Trader versus Thompson's Volkswagen and the Sabertech car, and he sneaks through.
Now, Nathan's losing out here, and unfortunately that Class A car is really causing problems to the front end of that Class B championship and the battle that is on the road at the moment.
Van Vleuten, then you've got Morowitz running a little bit wide once again into the braking markers for Kokabana. He's trying to catch and close down on Philip Cruiser, and behind him comes James Hurley. So a nice little 3-way battle here, but remember, slight differences in those cars and the aerodynamic packages. That's where you're seeing the ability of the Polo over the 2 Golf 1s.
Yeah, the Golfs really handle well in the tight stuff, but down the big straights, they just start losing because they're about as aerodynamic as a brick.
Just looking on the sideline, looks like the Bat Lady might be out as well. Elke van Vletten's car stricken on the sideline as they come across to complete another lap. Now we've got a Class A car leading out the 2 Class Bs, and Nathan's lost a little bit of ground, so he might have made a mistake coming out of Kokabana, or out of Beacon I should say, and in the background out of Beacon right now is Voldy, starting to make up lost ground.
I just want to talk about Thompson here for a second. He is using the Class A car and the tow to just break away from Darren Nathan. Nathan is in huge trouble now because if this trend carries on, there's going to be no coming back, and Class B is just going to go to Quinton Thompson. He's not even going to have to fight for it, but under brakes is where the Polo is real strong, and this is the area where you can make it up.
Well, I want to add a little bit of extra strength to that Sex Trader car because, as we just mentioned about Fred Morowitz's car compared to the Golf 1 that Thompson and the 2 other cars that Morowitz are battling with, the aerodynamic package on that Polo is better, and that's where Nathan made up ground. You could just see him reel them in because he's getting through the air better.
Yeah, real nice, but watch this. The inside line is going to be covered by Smallberger, and outside, they actually saw Quinton Thompson, the front end of the car, dove a little bit. He had to back out of that one, and all of a sudden, we've got the legit race on our hands that it should be.
Class B honours up for grabs here. Who's going to take it? Sex Trader versus Thompson's Volkswagen. And, well, they still might get overall honours here too, because Derek Smallberger, he's running second on the road. You see Blackensee has checked out and disappeared at the front. He's got nearly 16 seconds ahead of anybody else as the checkered flag comes out. A brilliant drive from this youngster. First victory in a Class A car, and brilliant stuff for Keegan Blackensee's career.
And on one of the biggest, scariest tracks in the country and probably in the world, Smallberger is going to come across to take second in the Class A's, but the Class B's are a Fenton trailer as they cross the line just behind, and it looks like it was Thompson.
Thompson wins out ahead of Nathan for Class B. Elna Cruiser eventually finishing up in 3rd place. Mikey's recovered and still got 3rd place, so podium position in Class A.
Keegs, it was just one of those survival races. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, look, I didn't personally see a lot of cars go off. I just saw Voldy go off, and Derek made a mistake behind me when I got past him, but that's it. The rest of the carnage was behind me.
Conditions were pretty tricky to actually figure out early on.
Yeah, in the beginning when the oil spill didn't help much off the start, and I got quite a good start because everybody tried to avoid it, and I went right through it, and I got a good start. And then after that, I think on the second last lap, one of the Class A cars got between us, and then I got a little bit of a gap, and that was it.
Class C honours going to Yannick van Rooyen, absolutely dominating. Monroe in 2nd and Ecode in 3rd. Hurley wins out Class D.
James, you love it in the gnarly conditions. Tell me about that race in the coast.
No, the coast is always good. It's because I'm much quicker down here. It's good fun. I was quickest yesterday the whole day, but unfortunately the rain came and Devin managed to just put me in qualifying. So that dried up nicely for the race and took the win.
Join us after the break for more Goldwagen race action from East London.
Welcome back to round 2 of the Pro Tour and race 2 of Goldwagen Challenge. It's the East London Grand Prix circuit that we're at, and race action has been pretty good considering the fact we've had very varying conditions in the weather.
Yeah, qualifying practice was a moist affair, to put it mildly. A dry race in heat number 1 and a bone dry race, but the wind is picking up for race 2.
Sure, serious race face on Peter Thompson there. As classes B and D get away, then it's a 10-second gap, and C and D will be following them. We're on board with Elna Cruiser, one of the fastest ladies in the country, putting pressure early on to Quinton Thompson.
Love watching that revved out light there. The car is telling her to change gear. She's going, I'm going to hang on the revs a little bit longer.
I've got about 200 more revs that I can get out of this. Voldy Monkeys, though, into third place and into second place, in fact, sneaking through on the start. Can he make a big return here and hopefully put his machine back on the top where he likes it to be?
Yeah, you know, coming into this round and the form that he was carrying, the speed of his car, it looked like it was going to be his race, but a problem for himself and the vehicle. It was actually a gearbox problem. Couldn't get it down into second gear, and that's why he went off track. If that thing can hold together, I think he's the only man that can run and maybe take a place away from King of Blackensea.
On board with Philip Cruiser as our Class B's, C's and D's, I should say, come down to the braking markers for Cochabana on the back end of Gina Monroe. Yanni van Rooyen's on her inside, and they come out of Cochabana running a little wide and not into the dirty stuff. That's good stuff there as they head in there. Back to the front, though, just to say once again, Voldy Monkeys has had a bit of an up and down weekend. He was on top of the qualifying and ended up third on the podium in race 1. Remember, he is racing for a family member that they lost a couple of weeks ago, so we wish them all the very best from our side, and we know that Voldy has got the race face on for that man.
Yeah, he's trying to represent up there. Good thing is, though, no one has really broken away, and we've got the Class A cars that we should have at the front, and great on the brakes going into Beacon Corner. Voldy Monkeys hits the front, but I think that was a strategy move by King of Blackensea. Just allowed him a little bit too much room and eased him through.
This is not a strategy from Yanni van Rooyen. Gina Monroe has just hit the front of Class C, and Yanni van Rooyen's going, where did she come from, and what have they done to that polo? I need to know.
Yeah, Yanni is going to have to really push hard. When you see Carlos Nobre on ear coats, he was real good there. He had no room at all, but he just slotted himself through up the inside, and he's charging. Nobre has not quite delivered this season as yet, but we know when that car finds a little bit more consistency and can hold together for the entire race, he's going to be right at the front and challenging Yanni.
Did you see the move from Cruiser? He nearly snuck through on Nobre on the brakes as well. That's how close Philip Cruiser got. They crossed the line. Vota Rus in third place. We're back on board with Carlos as they head into Potter's Pass. On the back end of Vota, that's where he wants to be catching. If he can close up on that polo, like we saw in the first race with Derek Smallberger and, of course, Quinton Thompson, he can use the toe of that polo and maybe get to the front.
He's just done it right now. Massive toe. He's got 4 cars cutting a hole for him, and he pulled up like he had a turbo button right up onto the back end.
Darren Nathan just behind there, and is he leading out? Yes, he is. He's got ahead of Thompson. So the Class B battle is being led out by the Sex Trader car. Performance Masters is the front, and that's what Voldy Monkeys wants to be until that checkered flag comes out. But with Blackensea, after a race win, having such a good qualifying, and now with an opportunity of the double on the day, he's going to be a tough man to beat.
No, it just helps your confidence so much. There's Rus. So Rus has just slid through underneath Monroe. Monroe led for almost the entire first lap. It looked like Yanni passed her just before the flag, or the line, should I say, and now she's been blown out the back door. She could hang on to third place, but it's much closer racing in the early stages than it was. Oh, another braking, maybe gearbox problem from Monkeys, and look at that. Gav Ross goes off in sympathy.
Target fixation is what it's all about. Coming out of Beacon, that's exactly what Gavin was doing. He watched the car go off and ended up on the same spot.
Just a heartbreaker, but look what it's done. It's blown everything wide open. Nathan is charging through now, trying to get himself up there in the overalls. The top 3 cars are still Class A's, and Voldy has recovered nicely.
Golf 4, Polo Classic, and a Polo Vivo. That's what it's all about at the front end. And Voldy, as you said, perfectly done and recovered in a massive way. He got back away from Gavin Ross and closed down on these guys pretty quickly, I've got to say. So there's definitely something working much better on that car. Hopefully the gearbox doesn't give any more problems.
Oh, did you see what that, just as they went to the shot? Oh, no. This is always going to be a massive one. How did those cars stay online? That is one of the scariest corners to lose the back end.
Philip Cruiser, hats off, dude. How you kept that together, I have no idea.
It's
called getting down to third gear and give it horns.
I've been calling this one for a while, haven't I? Look at the charge that Carlos Nobre has put on. He is all over Yanni.
Yanni van Rooyen under massive pressure now, so he's going to have to worry about that yellow Golf. The yellow Polo, the Sabertech car, is on the move and looking for a first place here. But it's all about Keegan Blackensea. They are side by side out of Beacon. You don't normally see that. Voldy's going to get good drive. Now it's a drag race. The Golf 4, well, it's got some serious ponies.
Look at the mirror.
Yeah, here he comes.
In the mirror, just sliding up the inside.
And there's the nose.
Voldy is going to cover this line. There is no coming back from that one.
Brilliant bit of driving there, but side-by-side action. And speaking of side-by-side, check in the background. Thompson and Ross side-by-side as Nathan sneaks through and gets past Gavin Ross and brings Thompson with him.
Absolutely astounding. So we've got the same guys in the Class Bs, and we've got Valdi. Hopefully he can stay in the mix. He's made 2 massive mistakes today, but he hasn't been punished too hard yet for them.
Hunting down a Class A victory and goes on the inside, but Derek Smallberger sees him coming. Goes defensive, goes in fact very defensive. Keegan taps out of it, gets to apex very late, and now gets the drive. Here could be a change for the lead. Oh, Derek comes across and cuts his nose off.
Yeah, tagging each other the whole way through there. Valdi didn't get the best drive. It looks like Smallberger is covering the ground up the inside, and he is. You can see Valdi just wanted to fade his way in there. As soon as he came in, there was a massive polo right in the way, and Kigi ready to slide through if anyone makes a mistake.
He's going to have to tap out of that one. Yeah, you're not going to make it through gate if you're on that side, but hopefully you can just keep out the Golf behind you. So Polo Classic now leading out. Polo Vivo in second and Golf 4 in third place. The Vendetta man has had a fantastic day, and he's just sitting there going, I love racing like this. Hopefully I can get a double.
Nathan running out front of the Class Bs. He's got a fender trailer in the form of Quinton Thompson. Almost said his dad, Peter Thompson. But Peter, much further back today, not finding the form that he had a couple of seasons ago. But I'll tell you what, it is going to be close and tight racing, and those guys are going to be duking it out all the way down to the line. It's going to be a very close one. I'm loving what I'm seeing here right now, though. But Keegan is just missing his lines every now and again, and if he misses that, he's going to miss the toe.
He ran a little bit wide there, so he's going to miss the toe on the Polo in front of him. Nathan is under pressure, though. Behind him is Gavin Ross. But the nice thing is he's put Gavin Ross
he separated himself
and Quinton Thompson, which is a good move. Then just behind them, that looks like it's going to be Elna Cruiser. And look who's recovering in the background. I was trying to pick up him a bit earlier, but Rory Atkinson in the flight hand cleaner car all of a sudden is back in it and in with a chance of a podium after dumping everything on the track in race 1.
Yeah, you had such a good first round, and unfortunately to have to go all the way down to the coast to have your engine blow in the first heat, that just means you lose a ton of points, and the rest of the season becomes a catch-up.
It would be nice if it was in the first heat. It was actually just on the warm-up lap, so it even feels worse than that. Braking markers for Kokobana, and Gavin Ross gets back up and ahead of the Class Bs. And that's just for bragging rights. But he's run wide, so you can't really brag, Ross. Oh, looks like there's problems for Valdi.
Valdi Monkey is getting closed down, so unfortunately he said he wasn't happy with the engine coming into this race. Didn't know if it was going to last both of them, and he is just fading backwards. He's about to get dropped and eaten up by Gavin Ross, who is next in line as far as the Class A's go.
So Class A honours for the podium still in the hands of Valdi Monkeys, but for how much longer as he starts to slow and comes into the clutches, as you said, Matt, of Gavin Ross. Nice battle continuing there. This is a bit further back in Class C, and Nobre all over Yanni van Rooyen.
Yeah, this is legit. This is what we've been waiting to see the whole way through, but it looks like Carlos is just waiting his time. For me, he looked like the faster driver the whole way through practice and qualifying, and certainly through early morning warm-up, but he's had some consistency problems on the car for it holding together. We've just got to pray that the yellow peril can actually stay in one piece. Otherwise, Yanni van Rooyen, who always turns up to the track with a perfectly prepped car, is going to beat him once again.
This is Pete Potgieter under pressure now from Gina Monroe. And it looks like Gina might have had a much better drive down the straight. Let's see if she can keep it all together and head down towards Kokobana. There might be an outbraking maneuver on the cards here, but further up the field again with Class A. And, well, there's a move. Keegan has a big look on Derek, but Derek's just keeping that door firmly shut.
Did you see the hole in the air behind Keegan Blackensey? We're talking around about almost 10 seconds by the time you see another car. So these guys have got nothing else to worry about except the fight at hand.
Just got to worry about some back markers if they get into the way, but they don't normally do in Goldwagen Challenge. You can see this is Peter Thompson. He's just ahead here of this battle for Class C. Yanni van Rooyen hanging on for dear life. Those yellow, like perfectly coloured yellow wing mirrors to keep an eye on that yellow barrel behind him.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Every time under braking is just, he almost seems to be not brake checking, but coming out of the gas through the corners just to annoy Carlos.
He definitely has some fun and games, there's no doubt about it. The Goldwagen Rudeport man under pressure there from Carlos Nobre. Nobre, well, it's great to have him back in this challenge and really a hot contender for the Class C.
Still third place on the road, and you can see a lot of gesticulation there from Nathan. He's covering that inside line every single time they go down the straight and making Quinton Thompson go the long way round. Then he fades and just pitches the bad boy in.
Yeah, that six-rated car really has got to turn a pace. Nathan's Motorsport doing a phenomenal job, but Thompson's also has a very quick Golf 1. as they head down towards Rifle. There's our 2 leaders for Class A, and Blackensee around the outside. Oh, that's awesome, but I think he's run wide. Yeah, he didn't quite get it right.
Yeah, I could hear him trying to get on the loud pedal a little bit early on, but he has got the drive. In fact, he has. He's got a chance to pull across and get a nose ahead. You can see twitching, trying to see who's going to back out of this one. There is a line around the outside going into gates, but it's only for the brave.
Yeah, and Derek, I think, is going to just force him a little bit too wide to take that line.
Yeah,
he does it perfectly.
And to back it out of that one.
So the Sabertech man just keeping it all together, and now let's see if he's able to keep it for the next couple of corners. Keegan Blackensee can smell victory again, and he wants the double. He wants it big time.
It's a bit of a comeback race for a couple of drivers. Derek Smallberger, the best I've seen him run in a couple of seasons. And also, I've got to give a big shout out to the battle that's happening just behind these guys. Quentin Thompson, his best season for like a year and a half.
Yeah, he had some problems last year in the name of Van der Linde is what I want to mention. Oh, he has Blackensee putting pressure, and in fact, a little tap. Oh, gives him a big tap. Oh, there's lights and glass everywhere, but who's going to have what it takes now? It's a drag race. Polo Classic versus Golf 4. The Golf 4 is slightly heavier, so he might not get through the air as nicely. Who is going to be across the line first? Look at how close it is. The flag is out, and Smallberger takes it.
Do or die maneuver. That was the flag by 0.055. You know, Keegan Blackensee had to do that move in Beacon, otherwise he'd have kicked himself.
Amazing stuff there. Really good effort from Derek Smallberger. That's his first victory in a long time too. To beat out Blackensee, he'll take the overall for the day. Gavin Ross in third. Darren Nathan in the Sextrator car wins out. Thompson in second, and Atkinson a good recovery to third.
Those brakes were locking up the whole way into Beacon. That was covering the line tight.
We were pushing them all the way, so we couldn't help blocking them at the end. They got quite hot in this track. You use brakes at the end of Cocobana. It's crazy. And yeah, Keegan came. He was there picking me. You know, Valdi and Keegan tried to outdo each other the whole time. So it was a chess game. It wasn't a race.
Darren is probably the widest polo I've ever seen in my life. Quinton was all over you, Gavin was all over you, but a great race, well done.
We had Gavin and Quinton and myself were tussling. Gavin would tow Quinton, then Valdi would tow me to try and get away, and it was a great race. I had to make it a little bit wide because yeah, I wanted the win.
He certainly did. Great effort there. Yannick van Rooyen also a phenomenal effort to keep out Nobre. Once again, James Hurley taking Class D.
A solid second, but Yanni just had the best of you.
He did, you know, all well done to Yanni. He had a good drive. His car was strong. I thought I would have had him by Copacabana. I came on the inside so that I had the leeway into the complex. But unfortunately, when I came through the complex, I missed fourth gear and couldn't hold my line. So his drive was a little bit better than mine, and he stuck it up the inside. And congratulations to Yanni.
Heading to the next round at Swartkorps, Yannick van Rooyen has Class C and the overall wrapped up. Class B is all about Darren Nathan, and Class A all the way down in 8th place, tied with James Hurley, Valdi Monkeys. A big thanks to Goldwagen for all this action from East London.